everyone. I'd like to call tonight the meeting of the Gardner Zoning Board of Appeals tonight to order. As you know, before we start, I always go over some of the ground rules which this board operates under. So, in Gardner, 3 members of the Zoning Board of Appeals must present.
Present.
Yeah. In Gardner, 3 members of the Zoning Board of Appeals must be present to conduct a legal hearing. Applications will normally be heard in the sequence in which they appeared in the public notice. The board is under no obligation to adhere to that sequence. All hearings shall be open to the public, and no person shall be excluded unless he or she is considered to be a hindrance to the workings of the board. An applicant may appear in his or her own behalf or be represented by agent or attorney. The applicant or his or her representative shall present the case to the board. Representatives of the city shall be heard. Abutters to the property present at the hearing shall be heard. Any other interested parties at the hearing shall be heard. Those in opposition to the application shall be heard. The board must render its decision regarding variance request within 100 days after the application was duly filed in the office of the city clerk. Members of the board who are hearing the case may direct appropriate questions any time during the hearing. The board regarding special permits must conduct a public hearing within 65 days after the application was filed in the office of the city clerk. The board must render its decision within 90 days after the public hearing was closed. All 3 members of the board must vote in favor of for the variance or special permit for it to be granted and approved. The right to appeal the decision of this board is provided for in the Zoning Act. The information is available in the office of the city clerk. Excuse me. No variance or special permit or any extension, modification, or renewal thereof shall take effect until notification from the city clerk that 20 days have elapsed after the decision has been filed in that office and no appeals have been filed and is recorded in the registry of deeds for the county or district. The burden for supporting the need for the variance or special permit rests with the applicant or representative of the applicant. The board requests that each person identify himself or herself as to name and address before addressing the board. Sitting on tonight's hearing, to my left, Mr. David Antaya, and to my right, Mr. Randall Hagelin, and myself, Ray LaFond, as chair. The meeting will be taped. Does anyone object to the taping of this meeting? Be it known there are no objections. I'm going to ask everyone here if you could please silence your cell phones so they will not interrupt the course of the meeting. And the next thing I will do, I'm going to read the agenda for tonight. It's the Gardner Zoning Board of Appeals meeting notice, date August 15th, 2023. Time is currently 6:35. It's in room 103, City Hall Annex, Gardner, Mass., 115 Pleasant Street. Any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium, subject to reasonable requirements of the chair as to the number, placement, and operation of equipment used so as not to interfere with the conduct of the meeting. Any person intending to make such recording shall notify the chair forthwith. All documents referenced or used during the meeting must be submitted in duplicate to the clerk. All documents shall become part of the official record of the meeting. I'll ask, is anyone there planning to do a recording of this meeting? Be it known there are no recordings being taken. The agenda tonight is case 07032023. It's a variance and it's a continuance. It's Aldi LLC, 3 Timpani Boulevard. I won't read all the numbers, but I'll give you the heads up of what it is. Case 07052023, it's a continuance of the variance. David and Linda Page of Century Way. Case 20230801, variance Timothy Slocum, 400 Matthews Road. In case 2023-0802, variance Douglas and Nicole Hutt, 191 Sand Street. Then the new business would be announcements and correspondence and acceptance or corrections to minutes of previous meetings. Submitted, Raymond LaFawn, Chairman. Okay, so we'll begin.
Mr. Chairman, before we begin, I just want to correct a Scrivener's error on the agenda. Under Aldi, it's actually a special permit, not a
Yeah,
variance.
special permit. That's what the application is for Aldi.
Yeah, it should be
Okay.
a special permit, not a variance.
Change so noted. Special permit for Aldi. Well, that changes the presentation significantly. Okay, first case before the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Troy Tanzer, Bacon Wilson here on behalf of Aldi Massachusetts LLC.
With Aldi.
Okay.
What was your name again, sir?
Rich Jarvis?
And your address?
111 Townway, Marshfield, Mass.
And your name again, please?
Troy Tanzer, Tanzer, attorney at Bacon Wilson, 6 Southeast Street, Amherst, Mass.
And for the record, I'll note that we were notified by council today that he would not be in attendance due to a pending delivery.
Any day now for the last 7 days.
His third child, so. So he's passed the baton on to you.
Yes, no babies here, so we're good. So applicant here is applying for a special permit for use of a portion of the 20,000 square feet of a Stop and Shop space within the retail center known as Timpani Plaza. The address is 360 Timpani Boulevard for the operation of a retail grocery store. The space was formally permitted for the use as a retail grocery store. Because of its vacancy for more than 2 years, that permit had lapsed, and so we are here before you today to renew that, or to have a new special permit, sorry. This use is what is known as a dry use retail grocery store, which means there is no made
No
food,
food preparation.
no food preparation, so everything's prepackaged when it's sold. There's no butcher desk, there's no fish desk that you'd go to, there's no bakery, there's no deli, so you're in and you're out. The hours of operation would be 7 days a week, 9 to 8, and the applicant here is not looking to change anything with the parking or the layout of the traffic flow. Therefore, because it was a supermarket before, it really lends itself to the traffic flow on the adjacent streets and the abutters. And because of that as well, the traffic flow for trucks can go in and around the building, and there's space for it to turn around to drop off produce and the like. So really, we're looking for questions from you guys, and we can go from there.
Okay, I'll open up first to my board. Any member have a question at this point?
How large of a store?
It's 20,700 and change. So I think the Stop and Shop was 60,000, I think.
Yeah.
So it's a portion of that.
20,700 and what?
I think it's 54. It's on-
Yeah,
Is that right?
yep,
It's on the plan.
yep, it's right here. Let me grab it for you.
Anything else right now?
I'm okay for right now.
David?
Yeah, I do.
Right here.
I'll wait till he's,
Can't see
Yeah,
that.
it's on the glass.
I can tell you right there.
It's right up there.
It's right on, right there.
20,751.
Close.
It's pretty close.
Not bad.
Okay.
one of the questions I have
Yeah.
is, how are you gonna handle trash and snow removal?
Snow removal would be handled by the landlord. Handled by the
Okay.
landlord the way it is today. Trash, there is trash containers in the store, but there's, as he mentioned, there's really no food preparation.
Right, but how are you gonna get rid of your trash that you
Oh, we
make?
have a dumpster out back by the loading dock.
Okay, so you're gonna have a dumpster out by the loading dock.
Yes.
Will that be taken away daily, or how often do you usually remove trash? Just didn't want critters attracted to it.
No, I understand. I told you exactly, I don't know. But I think it depends on the stores, the activity. I would say it's probably minimum once a week. And when you say trash, it's usually, you know, we have a baler that takes care of the cardboard. We compact all the cardboard and recycle that. So that's
Okay.
less of, so there's not that much trash, other than say from the store, employees, that sort of thing.
And because it's all prepackaged food, you're not gonna have like vegetables or things like that that you'll be throwing away?
No, I mean, there will be some loss, but for the most part, it all gets unwrapped and then sold. Some of the unwrapping would be trash, I guess, some of the,
Okay.
like shrink wraps type stuff.
And the snow is done by the landlord?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
In terms of regarding the dumpster, I'm sure that's not the only dumpster back there. The other stores must have most likely a dumpster back there. Or
Yes.
are they all under the same vendor and they may be picked up on a certain schedule or?
We haven't contracted a dumpster company just yet.
Okay.
We typically have certain companies that we use within certain areas, just makes sense.
Okay.
You have cardboard packer back there?
We
Cardboard?
have a baler inside the store.
Inside the store?
Yep.
Good. Okay, well, I think, how many
Where do you,
stores?
where do you store the bales once they're?
We get rid of them.
No,
Oh,
you,
before
you
we-
load them on a trailer or?
They stay in until they get unloaded.
Okay, so they maintained it within the store until
Yes.
pickup is ready and scheduled. Okay. I'm gonna assume then you'll have probably dumpster pickup, probably minimum once a week.
Yes.
Yes.
Otherwise, as David stated, there could be some predators or whatever, because they know what's there.
Right.
Right.
Okay. You're gonna use that 7 days a week, 9 to
9
8?
to 8.
Okay. Any special hours, like around Christmas, Thanksgiving, that you change your time?
Typically, sometimes we close.
Okay,
That would be the real variance there.
okay. Have you looked at the parking there? Because with the coming of Tractor Supply,
Mm-hmm.
that took a number of parking spaces out of that parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And originally, when that plaza was designed, the parking lot actually was short several spaces because of, they looked at the movie theater and everything else. With the Tractor Supply, now it's even shorter. So have you looked at that, how the impact of your business is gonna?
We do, and honestly, yeah, so when we look at a location for Aldi in a suburban market, not like an urban type thing, it's usually between like 95 and 100 parks, and we are well within that. We don't typically see that kind of parking activity, although we require it. We don't usually see that unless it's peak time. So, I'll go into a store and I'll see like 40 different parties so you'd say 40 to 50 cars on a busy time, but peak time it tends to could hit 90 cars.
Yeah, I think with Tractor Supply, they lost something between 30 and 40 spaces in that
They
area.
took quite a few with that
Yeah.
corral that they have, yeah.
The last time I saw parking really impacted was a couple weeks ago when Barbie was playing.
I'm sure.
It took over like 2/3 of the parking lot. So,
And I think because we spoke to it before, because of the nature of how it is prepackaged, you're usually in and out in a pretty efficient manner.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a 5-aisle grocery store, so.
okay, I'm gonna ask a question, I'm sure it's within your metrics. What's the average turn time of a customer parking his car or parking their car, going into the store, purchasing and leaving? There's gotta be a metric in there if they're there 20 minutes, an hour.
I don't know what that is. It wouldn't be more than an hour though, for sure. So I live in Marshfield and I shop in Shaw's because that's the closest. And that's a fairly large grocery store. It doesn't take me an hour to get in and out of there, so I'm thinking it can't be probably 40 minutes if I had to guess.
Any other questions at this point, Dave?
I do not have any others.
How big is this store compared to the one on Leominster?
It's about the same size. So, we typically, the prototype is 19,500-ish. And, you know, it depends on, a lot of the spaces like in Massachusetts, they're gonna be second generation for the most part, because that's what's left. So we have to kind of account for that, so it might be,
What do you mean by second generation?
so it's an existing building that we're reusing,
Okay,
versus like a ground-up building. So a lot of those, we have to kind of work with what we have to some degree. We get the landlord to say, okay, we're only taking 20,000 square feet, but if it's a 22,000 square foot box, as an example, we might end up with like a 22,000 square foot box.
okay, so have you done the parking calculation? How many spaces by our code is required for your space?
Yeah.
It's-
Oh, it was around 57 for your space.
That isn't what I came up with.
We did it based off the calculation of retail stores, 1 per 200 square feet net floor area.
1 per 200. You're
With-
greater than 5,000 square
Yeah,
feet,
with-
so it
or
should be
up
1
to
per
5,000.
250 square feet.
Okay.
So 20,000.
It's based on the gross floor area of the actual, of the retail space though.
Okay.
The sales floor,
Yes, that's less
It's like
than.
12,000.
Yeah, I think it's 13,000.
13,000?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the difference. 52.
Okay.
Pardon? What was
52.
52? Okay.
is that?
That's not what we.
All right, anything else at
So
this?
how many spaces are there then, and if you counted, you know, like 2 rows or 3 rows in front of your store?
Sorry.
What about?
I mean, halfway up the row is 20, so 40,
Yeah, see, this parking
20.
that's shown on this plan isn't the way it exists today, because
Would you like
Because it
to?
doesn't show the corral,
Tractor
right?
Supply,
Yeah.
you know, it's taking those away. But there's a hard island, if you assume,
Actually have. I can pull it up if you wanna wait.
Okay.
Yeah, ours is small.
I'll ask this question, now that you can do your calculation.
I'll do it as
All right. Are you planning to do any interior or exterior construction to the property?
Yes, so the,
Interior.
yeah, the landlord's doing, he's got a permit now, he's doing demo in preparation. And once that's done with our permit, we'll do a new front to the store and then the entire inside.
Okay, so really you're not internally, that's being handled through a contractor in the building department. Externally, pretty much stay the same, maybe just a little aesthetic change and signage.
Yes,
Right.
new front, basically, and then
Yep.
signage, yes.
And you know, I mean, depending on your sign size, you must confer
Yeah, we'll
with the
come
building
for a
commissioner.
permit, yep.
Yeah, we actually, I think, we're ready to do that, we're behind on the permit, because we didn't know the variance, I mean, the zoning expired.
So we just got
One
up
row
there,
is
it's 21
21
deep.
cars deep in front of Tractor Supply.
I did I did, yeah. Yep. Is there a tenant presently in 15A which would be to the left of you?
No,
No? Okay.
so this Tractor Supply, then it would be us, and now that's all for lease today.
All right, is that where the video store is or something?
If
The
if you keep
GameStop.
going further, it's the video stores there, the GameStop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think there's a space in between.
There is.
Okay.
I went by several weeks ago, and actually part of that front was open. And there was, I could see into the back, there were vehicles in there, and people and small pieces of machinery going in and out. Was that part of your store that they were going in?
Yes, that is part of our space. That's the work the landlord's having the GC do. So he's opened up that to get in to do the demo. They're doing demo, all kinds of,
Okay.
they got mezzanines, freight elevators, they got a demo out of there.
Okay.
A lot of work.
All right. Are you set on the parking, Randy?
Yeah, for right now, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll move along. Are there any representatives of the city to speak regarding this application? Any representatives of the city to speak regarding this application? For the record, no representatives of the city.
Before they go too far, maybe it would be helpful if they went over the 9 conditions. That may answer any questions to the audience.
Okay. You're aware of the 9
Sure.
conditions. Why don't you, as Mr. Hegland suggested, maybe you'll answer some of their questions.
Absolutely. So the first one is the proposer shall be suitably located in a neighborhood which it is proposed and/or the entire city and shall be compatible with neighborhood character, existing uses, and other permitted uses by the same right. This use is compatible with the uses in the commercial 2 zoning district. The location is in a retail plaza, which is known as Timpani Plaza, and it complements the other uses in its nature where, say you want to stop at Tractor Supply and then you want to get groceries, it's right there and you kind of have a one-stop shop for there. 2, the proposal shall provide convenient, safe vehicular pedestrian movements within the site and in relation to adjacent streets, property improvements. Obviously, with the way the site is situated, there's been a grocery store there before, and we don't plan on changing any of the traffic flow or anything regarding that, so the traffic flow should stay the same, which has led to safe pedestrian vehicular traffic flow. 3, the proposal shall provide adequate space for off-street parking, loading and unloading of vehicles and goods, products, materials, and equipment incidental to the normal operation of establishment or use. As we said before, in terms of traffic flow for trucks, they can go through the southerly part of the site towards the back of the building. There they will, there's adequate space to allow for parking, turning, unloading of goods and products, materials, and equipment incidental for the normal operation of business, and we've spoken to the parking spaces. 4, the proposal shall provide adequate and appropriate facilities and utilities for the proper operation of the proposed use and disposal of sewage, refuse, or waste products and methods of drainage of water surface. From what we know, the facilities connect to the city services, sewer, water, so the parking lot has been designed to properly handle the drainage on, of surface water on the lot.
Yes.
5, the proposal shall not constitute a nuisance due to air and water pollution, erosion, flood noise, odor, dust, vibrations. As we've spoken to, construction is going to be minimal and mostly interior, and then as a retail store, there's not going to be much in the way of noise, odor. It's prepackaged, so there's not going to be any cooking or anything like that, nothing like that, noise pollution. 6,
No vents.
no vents. The proposal shall not be substantial inconvenience or hazard to abutters. As we've spoken to, the parking is clearly delineated. There's clear travel lanes for cars and pedestrians to walk in, and there's a concrete walk, obviously, in front of the plaza itself. 7, the proposal should be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the chapter. The proposed use is of retail nature. It's giving the general public a convenience that they would not otherwise have in that plaza, and it's complementing the other businesses in that plaza. 8, the proposal shall not have a significant detrimental impact on city services, tax base, and employment opportunities. We spoke to it. The city services, design, water, and sewer have been underutilized as there's been a vacancy there. It was approved for full capacity and hasn't been the case recently. And utilization of the store space will positively impact the tax base. It will give a new use, and it will also positively impact employment opportunities because people will have to work within the store. And then the proposal is consistent with the city's community development plan or master plan. The proposed is consistent with the city's development and master plan to attract business and industry that will complement and improve retail, commercial, and industrial base while promoting economic development.
Hey, thank
And
you.
that is the 9 of them.
Okay, are there any abutters present who would like to speak in favor of this application? Any abutters present who would like to speak in favor of this application? For the record, no comments. Any interested parties who would like to speak in favor of this application? Any interested parties who would like to speak in favor of this application? Sir?
If this doesn't get approved, my wife.
Excuse me.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Steve Slocum, Ashburnham.
And what's your comment?
If this doesn't get approved, my wife will not be happy.
I just wanted to make sure it was captured correctly. Sure.
Tim Slocum of Ashburnham. I appreciate you considering the city of Gardner to bring your retail store.
Yeah.
I think it's a great asset to the community. Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you. Mr. Slocum. Okay, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone to speak in opposition to this application? Be it noted there is no opposition. My members, any further questions or comments?
I do, I have a question.
Go ahead. Mr.
For the parking, does your landlord allocate certain parking spaces for your business? Or is it kind of a free-for-all?
It's non-exclusive, so, which means everybody can park anywhere, except we will have some curbside parking spots, typically 4, that we have, so if somebody orders, they can bring the groceries out to they park in designated curbside spots.
How does that change the fire lane
They use existing cars spots, you just you paint the spot and you put a little sign, like with the handicap sign like that, but it says curbside.
I understand, but right now there's no parking along the front of the buildings, I don't believe.
No, you use the existing parking spaces. So
Are
you
you-
wouldn't create any new parking, it would be the existing spot. It's not actually.
It's not
curbside,
actually on the
called
curb,
curbside.
it's called curbside, it's like the first couple spaces when you come out of the building.
Like you have to cross the drive aisle.
Yeah.
Like somebody
Okay.
would come out of the store, an employee would come out of the store,
Bring it to
cross the drive aisle and deliver it into the car.
So you're not parking right at the curb then?
Not at all.
You're
No. That's
in
just-
previous
Yes.
parking spaces,
Yes.
okay?
Okay, I have a question regarding, first of all, how many employees do you plan to have?
Usually the store has up to 25, depending on the activity.
Parking for your employees, in the general parking area or behind the building?
It'll probably be in general parking out towards the street,
Okay.
furthest away from the store.
I'm going to assume that if it is employee parking, then general parking, they'd probably be instructed to park away from the building.
Yep.
Otherwise, they take your
Yes.
customer parking areas away.
Yes.
All right, anything else, Randy?
I know Aldi has their quarter carriage corral deal. Do you still find with that, do you still find carriages out in the parking lot?
Very, very seldomly. So I've been with Aldi for like 3 years. So before that, I had different commercial real estate experience. And when I first started to look at the company as a potential employer, I said, "What's the deal with this quarter thing? Does it work?" And I actually went to different stores, and not just for the quarter, but that was part of my evaluation. And surprisingly, everybody brings the carriage back for the quarter. Or it's just they're just bringing it back because that's the system.
Will you have any staff employees, I'll say, searching or watching the parking lot for abandoned quarter carriages or
Yes.
whatever?
Yes.
On an ongoing basis, not just once a day?
I don't know exactly the routine, but we
But
can,
there is a continuum through the day.
to make sure that there's no
Okay.
left garages. And it's kind of rare that it happens. believe it or
Okay,
not.
regarding trash, and I don't mean the trash you generate in the store. I'm talking trash on the concrete walk in front of the store, right in front of your store, in the parking lot there. Will you have anybody policing that on a periodic basis?
Employees do, yes,
So every day?
yes.
Okay.
Front and the back.
Dave?
I'm all set.
Randy?
Mr. Chairman?
So the front curbing is gonna remain the same? You're not making any changes to the front curbing?
No.
Okay. Because I see here it says, proposed canopy extension. Then you've got the carriage corral here, which will narrow down that sidewalk in front of the building. So I'm just trying to understand what the existing conditions are versus what your changes are. Do you have something that overlays both?
Yeah, so if you have the site plan, the floor plan,
Okay.
it shows the front. So what we did is we brought the cot corral inside. So we were initial thoughts were we're gonna push out the curb, but in order to not have to do that, we brought the cot corral inside the building, not inside, but
Under the
underneath, yeah.
overhang.
So, and then it should show the existing column right there. You can see that that's the same column. And then that dotted line should be the sidewalk, the limit of the sidewalk.
Yeah, the dotted line is, it says proposed limit of your canopy extension. Proposed canopy extension at adjacent tenant by landlord.
Oh, so I'm sorry, the solid line is the curb.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's, you can see right here. You looking at this?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so right here where the ramp is, where the end of the ramp is, that solid line,
Mm-hmm.
that's the end of the sidewalk.
Okay. You want anything more?
Is that,
Mm-hmm.
David, anything
No,
further?
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Gone through the listing of who could speak.
That's it.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
We appreciate you giving us the opportunity to bring it before you guys.
Okay, I'll just open it up to the audience very quickly. Is there any comments? No comments from the audience? Okay, so I would like to move to close this portion of the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, any discussion? None? All in favor of closing this portion of the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, your case is closed. I don't think we need to visit because we're very familiar with, the Stop and Shop, the area, et cetera. I think you've done a great job of explaining what's gonna happen and what is gonna happen where. So the board will end up making a decision. Once it makes the decision, I'm sure you're familiar with this. After the decision is made, there's a 20-day waiting period in case someone wants to appeal the decision. Once it's expired, the 20 days, you need to record it in the deed, in the registry, et cetera, and then you can proceed from there. Okay?
Thank you so
All
much.
right. You'll be notified when the decision is gonna be taking place. There'll probably be a number of decisions that night at that time, so it will be posted. You will not receive a written notice because we need to only post 48 hours before. But it hangs on
The
what
wire.
we call the wire in City Hall outside of the clerk's office. There's a wire and they
Oh,
put all the
literally.
notices there. You can also call our administrative assistant and ask her if when the hearing is going to be held, and she will tell you. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, the next case before the board tonight is 0705-2023. It's a variance continuance. It's David and Linda Page of 107 Century Way. And there is a request for continuance as Mr. and Mrs. Page are away, and it's due to, she had some medical issues, was gonna be hospitalized. He had some medical issues, and they're just coming out of that, and they're taking a few days for vacation, and he asked the continuance to next month. So we're gonna look on that. Do I hear a motion to move on the application to continue this?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the Page application will be continued to the September meeting and voted on there. And just for the record,
See that again? You may have to ask for an extension. It was June 16th, July, August, September 16th. Our meeting is after the 16th of September.
yes, it is. Would you like to grant an extension?
I'm not sitting on
Oh,
this
yes, you're
case.
not,
I'm not
and
sitting
we
on this
don't
one.
have
You know,
another
I'm
member
okay
at
with
this
voting
point.
for an extension, but I'm not okay.
Yeah,
with
that's what I'm gonna
anything
ask,
here.
is to vote for an extension on this because of the closeness of the days. And hopefully our third member for that meeting will be back at that time.
But you're still gonna need something from them.
Yep. And
Granting
we
an
can vote for
extension.
the extension tonight, but we can request a letter, just adding, we don't need to pick up a lot of time. I would just put an extension no greater than the October meeting. And we can act within that if we need to. Okay with that?
Yeah,
Okay, can I have a motion to extend this application to this October meeting due to the closeness and their being away in the medical issues?
let me, just for clarification, Mr. Chairman, does that mean that they could still come in September? Or are they going to be coming in October?
They would be coming in October,
Okay, so,
because I'm not exactly sure when they're getting back.
okay,
So we'll give them the leeway in there. You know,
well,
Well, I think we need to have something from them,
Yes.
just agreeing to the extension.
Okay,
yeah,
If
and what,
not, I mean, the board needs to, close the hearing with them here or not and make a decision.
right. And the, meeting is tentatively being moved if I
It is, so you're not gonna be within the time days.
frame, because now, and
So,
so we're either gonna meet in a week later in September, or we're gonna meet in October. I don't know which date has been
hey,
chosen.
Mariella, we moved it to, what, the 25th, or
26th,
which one?
26th, September
26th of September.
which is
Se-
Tuesday.
Okay, so 26th September will be will be the September meeting,
Right, it was due to lack of being able to see the board.
okay? All right. So now that we'll be beyond their time.
Yep, so what we could do is request an extension letter request to like the 30th of September. That's all we would need.
Okay, so,
I'll be honest, I'm not comfortable,
no, this is not,
I'm not comfortable, I think I'll make a motion, you close the hearing, and then move on a decision within that time frame. We can, you and maybe we'll have a hybrid meeting if the third
Yeah.
member is not available.
So you want to move it to,
You did your site visit,
we did the site visit,
Were there
that was
concerns
all
related to-
we needed, the public.
so what day are you proposing? For the
for,
meeting?
for the decision meeting?
Yep.
Well, we've got Aldi to do a decision meeting as
Yeah.
well.
See, the thing is, I'm gonna be away from the 16th to the 24th. And we have to check on Mr. Cornett.
Or what about if you had it before the end of this month, at the end of August?
I'm gonna read his request letter. To ZBA board members, we will be unable to attend the July 11th meeting due to a conflict of scheduling. The original meeting was scheduled for the 18th of July. We were unable to attend because my wife was scheduled for surgery. I have a doctor's appointment scheduled for the 11th of July. This is all passed in late afternoon in Boston. We will also be unable to attend to the August 15th meeting because we will be out of state. I am requesting we be put on the September meeting. Your cooperation would be greatly appreciated. So you do have a request to go into September. And the meeting is going to be on the 26th. So you
So
could,
would that be implied that
so
he
you,
would accept the extension?
we can vote to extend it, and you can extend it right to the 26th that night and make a decision that night.
You will be back for that?
Well, I plan to be back.
All right.
Okay?
I'm okay, I just don't want you to go into default and get automatic approval
Yeah, here's his letter asking to go into
He's asking for
September,
an extension,
to the September meeting.
September meeting.
which will be the 26th, correct? Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion then to extend the application to the September meeting,
September 26th.
September the 26th.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition? The page application will be extended to the September 26th meeting for final decision.
Would you want to add upon their request? Yeah, I just want to make sure that that was included. We didn't automatically just take that. They
No, it
requested it.
is, it's, he does have a letter here requesting, that's what I read from.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Next case before the board. Case 2023-0801, variance. Timothy Slocum, 400 Matthews Road, motor vehicle repairs, other business uses. Mr. Slocum, agent or attorney.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Peter Campobasso, I appear on behalf of Tim Slocum, owner of 400 Matthews Street. He's seeking a variance, originally he was seeking a variance for an automotive based on the letter that was submitted to the building inspector. But one of the other, I think what the bigger request is, he's interested in trying to expand the variance so that it covers business uses. What's happened since he started to develop the site, because of the location, a number of small businesses have contacted him wanting to locate there. One of the problems we encountered, there was a lot of as you are aware, there was a lot of turnover in the building inspector's office, and it was very difficult to get a determination based on the special permit that was issued by the planning board. And as such, a lot of letters were going in requesting a determination. There was no response, and prospective tenants were basically bailing because they couldn't wait. The process is such that it could take up to 2 to 3 months to get a determination, and then we have to go through the zoning board of appeals process, which could take additional time. So I think what he's more interested in is getting some type of a expansion of the variance to allow different business uses. I think your business uses on the table of uses run from, I believe, like through 30 or 31 through, I think, 60.
60.
See, yep.
Not all of them are suitable for the location because of the buildings that are being constructed. The bays themselves are approximately, they're a little less than 1,200 square feet. For someone like Mr. Slocum, who runs his excavating business out of there, his contractor's yard, it's ideal. It allows him to bring his trucks in and out to service. We did get approval for one of the tenants that's there now. A trucking company out of Sterling has relocated here. There are some landscaping companies that want to relocate as well, which all fit under the umbrella of a contractor's yard. But there are different businesses. For instance, there's one particular retail business that wants to ship their unassembled product, assemble it, and bring it to their store. It's an ideal bay for them because the truck can drop it right off. They can load it in. manufacture it, or I should say assemble it, ship it to their store. So we're not exactly sure how to word the request, and that's why I think what I suggested in my letter was that I don't know if it would be appropriate to say mixed use, because that is a specific number. I think that's either 29 or 30 in the table of uses. But that we would have a little bit of flexibility with the building inspector so that it's not strictly contractor's yard. And I think if we look at the elements required under a variance, I think if you look at the plot plan that was attached to the application, it used to be a bigger lot, but when Matthew Street was relocated, Matthew Street ended up going sort of right through 400 Matthew Street. You can see that the parcel is kind of bisected by the new location of Matthews Road, the old location being southerly, probably 300 to 400 feet away. And it does abut 140. It's ideal for, small business use because of its close proximity to Route 2. It abuts the college. It's not a densely populated residential neighborhood. His site would probably be, I think it's 300, 400 feet away from the closest house. Other than that, it's not a heavily developed area, that's for sure.
Thank you. I'll open some questions first. I have a couple. I'll allow Randy and David.
Not yet, no.
Me either, not yet.
Okay. You did make a comment that it's not a congested area. Not at this point in time, because that area has been looked at by the city to develop possibly an industrial park, et cetera. So your statement is correct that it's not overly congested today. But tomorrow, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But we're looking at what he wants to do today. In your application, you stated the individual or business that wants to come in currently is a car detailing business. So I'm going to assume washing, waxing, cleaning, that type.
Exactly.
Will there be any other activities that business would be doing other than detailing?
It's unfortunately, in speaking with Mr. Slocum, that particular dealer couldn't wait any longer, and he's no longer able to go to the location. So that's part of the difficulty he's having with prospective tenants that want to locate. By the time we get through the process, it literally took months for us to get a response. Now, I anticipate now that the new building inspector is on board, the process may not take quite as long. That's why I think I wanted to include a request to possibly consider some type of additional variance that allows different businesses to operate out of the site.
Well, that's where I have a problem.
Right.
Me too.
Because this is really a use variance, which is very different than a dimensional variance, which
Correct.
use variances, we're probably one of the only communities in the Commonwealth that have use variance power. So we have to look at them very closely and analyze them. What's the impact of the city, to the abutters, et cetera. When I saw this as a detailing operation, okay, not intrusive, very simple. That was my focus on my question, but that person has gone away. To open up and say, let's allow use variances for 33 different business uses, I don't think that's really practical. Because the board, what we want to do, or is going to do, is every application for a business use up on his contractor's yard, as long as he stays in the contractor's yard parameters, he's fine. Once he wanders out of that, now you're looking at use variances. This board would look at each request individually. So that could be 36, 33 requests. It's too broad a span or paint with a brush to say, yeah, we'll open it up for all business uses. We don't know what all those business uses are, and if you go down the zoning ordinance, some of them are impacting, others are not. And there could be requirements or restrictions on each of that activity. So the board wants the opportunity to look at that on an individual basis going forward. And I think your comment is correct, that with Mr. Zupa here as the new building commissioner, we've seen significant turnaround on time. I know he had conversations with Mr. Slocum about how to modify his application, et cetera, because of the way it came in didn't quite fit, and we wanted to make it easier. But to look at 33 carte blanche, yes, go ahead, I don't think that's going to happen at this board, because it's just too broad. And as I said, the potential uses are not limited. They're pretty broad themselves.
Okay.
So I think, I'll allow the members to discuss, but I just gave, my opinion for, the way the application is being applied for. And there's now no specific use that you're looking for other than just a vote for yes, we'll allow anything under 30 to 66. So I'll open questions or comments up to Randy and David.
No, I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I thought it was too broad for a use variance, and I would like to see more specific use that you're looking for there.
I think I concur. That's what the flag went up for me when it says all open it up variance for general uses. It would have been different if the applicant came and said, seeking number 32 or number 64. Choosing
Right.
particular uses that could be, similar or compatible with his already approved use.
That's one of the things that I actually wanted to discuss with the board. My thought was to try to engage with the building commissioner to see what uses he might identify that would sort of be consistent with a contractor's yard. Not necessarily have a big divergence from the same type of use with a contractor's yard, with the equipment and with the way they use the bays. This way here, it might give him a little more flexibility. And if, to your point, there is some type of business use that would be different and he wanted to expand it, he could seek a specific variance for that particular use.
I think that's how the board would prefer to look at it, as each individual. I think a conversation between yourself, Mr. Slocum, and the commissioner of what he feels or falls under the parameters of a contractor's yard and, say, closely connected to a contractor's yard would be beneficial. And I think that would allow him to, focus on what potential clients, customers
Exactly.
would fit in that parameter. And I'll just, for the record, I'm going to just read a couple of things here. And this is why the board is sort of looking at it that way.
Yeah.
You can have a retail store up to 15,000 square feet if we granted this. That's a possibility. You have a laundry dry cleaning business up there. That would be allowed. Funeral home would be allowed up there. Motor vehicle general repairs, painting, spraying, soldering, etc. That would be allowed there.
Welding shop.
Restaurant,
Could I also make a comment to that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
If the building was designed for that use, then it would be allowed. But it is not designed for that use, so those proposed uses that you're stating would not be allowed under the building commissioner's decision.
I understand that, Mr. Slocum, but if you say we vote yes and give that use variance,
Right.
now you can redesign your building.
So my question would be to the board. My thinking was to ask for a continuance to allow us to speak to the building inspector and maybe modify the request based on our discussions with him, so as to avoid a leave to withdraw and a refiling. If that would be something the board would entertain, I think it would probably be beneficial and probably most efficient for Mr. Slocum.
I have spoken several times with the building commissioner, Mr. Zupa, and he had requested that we withdraw our application that was submitted July 13th and revise it the way that you see it today. I presented with him the table of uses and the proposed tenants that were coming forth, drawing interest to the property, and he said his hands are tied with the decision that the board has made by just allowing a contractor's yard use 54.
Well, that's what you had applied for initially, was that
Well,
contractor's use, so.
I think that's what I came back originally for, to clarify, is it was presented as a broader range for commercial business use, rental space. The decision that was made really restricted me by applying use 54 contractor's yard. But how
That's probably how, what you were initially denied upon, because that's usually how the decisions are. I'm trying to remember exactly, but I'm assuming that's what it was. The original denial letter was number 54.
Yeah, I think the contractor's yard is 59.
Whatever,
Anyways, whatever the number
whatever.
is. But I think that there has been discussion with the building commissioner, but what I would like an opportunity, if it's okay with the board, I think we could probably have a more detailed conversation, identify some specific uses that would probably fit within that 1,200 square foot bay-type unit, and maybe come back to the board with those type of uses to consider. And if an extension and then some type of a modification of the application would be appropriate, or we would have to ask, respectfully ask for a leave to withdraw and then come back with another application that identifies a certain umbrella of uses.
And you have any comments right now? I have one, but I'll wait.
Number 60 was contracting business, contractor's yard. So is this zoned commercial too?
No, he's in a R2,
Rural too.
he's in an R2 district.
That's why he had to come for a variance.
That's why he had to come for the initial variance, yes.
It wasn't permitted.
No,
But that's why they came.
that's
for
why
the-
he came for the variance. to have
Okay.
it. You do that.
Alright, I
Contractor's
just
yard is not
wanted
a
to make
permitted
sure.
use
And
in
it
the
really
R2
came
district.
under contractor's yard.
Okay. That's what they came under, was contractor's yard for,
I think,
Well,
I think that's
residential.
what the
That
original
was the
denial.
initial request, yes.
Yeah.
okay.
It was a contractor's yard with commercial rental space. And the decision was made just on the contractor's yard, restricting me to rent commercial businesses.
Okay, thank you.
Randy?
Nothing.
Counselor, I think your request is reasonable, and I'd like to propose to the board, now this application was dated August 8th, so it's a variance, so there's 100 days here before the board has to render a decision
Correct.
under this point. And 100 days would be August, December 20th, somewhere right around there. So there's time. I'm going to propose the board consider granting you a continuance to next month. And you have discussions with Mrs. Zupa, if you so desire. And, come back with some ideas or thoughts. But the board is going to look at this on an individual basis on everyone that comes in. Because it's, contractor's yard, unless the city moves forward and changes it under their city planning, we have to work with the ordinance that we have. And use variances are very hard to get, and they have to, we'll call it, it's gotta be a round peg in a round hole, and we wanna try to keep it like that. You know, and if it ties in tightly with the contractor's yard, all right, then that should be presented, and we'll look at it. But coming in with a funeral home up there, I don't think it's gonna happen. And that's why we have to be very careful in the parameters of what goes on
I
here.
appreciate that.
And I know you said it's a contractor's yard with 6 units or 6 units,
6 units in each building.
you know, and commercial
I
use.
don't remember how many buildings,
A total of 6 buildings in a 3-phase project. There's 2 buildings that are currently standing there today.
okay.
So,
Each building has
Six
six
units,
bays
yeah, 6 bays.
that are approximately just shy of 1,200 square feet.
okay, so is would the board consider this back at, you know, when it was looking at granting this? You've got these buildings coming up. Yes, it's a commercial use. You're in a rural residential zone, but you're focusing on a contractor's yard. So the board marries the contractor's yard, your buildings, and staying in that same vein. But now with the request here, instead of staying here, they can shoot off like this.
Right.
And that's why the board will look at each individual request. And so I think a conversation with Mr. Zupa would be very beneficial. And he's gonna rely and say, well, the board has to make the final decision. I agree there. But, like I said, let's use a funeral home. You say, well, that's what we want to do. It's, you know, I've got this variance that lets me do this in that zone. Or we want to propose it as a variance use. No. So we want to stay within the nature of his business.
Okay.
I guess that's putting it simple, within the nature of his business.
What would your recommendation be to acquire 32 businesses just like mine to rent space there? Is the conversation with Mr. Zupa, the building commissioner, said this is a very restrictive decision by the board. It allows me very little lenience to make a decision on a tree company as a potential applicant, as a landscaper as a potential applicant, as a auto body company that wants to detail their cars, somebody that wants to store their boat, or a sports car, or a recreational vehicle repair facility. So all of these potential applicants are coming to me through a realtor. I'm then approaching on behalf of the applicant, building commissioner. He says, all of them are denied. They're not a contractor's yard. Go to the board. And what's
That
happening?
now goes as a variance request. That's when the board's gonna look at it. What's its impact on the area, the neighborhood, et cetera? Some of, you know, because as the board looks at it, what conditions might the board attach to it? Now, you mentioned tree cutting or whatever, or a tree service. Okay, it doesn't sound too imposing. Well, let's think about it. What does a tree service include? How many trucks, in and out times? Are they gonna store material there, mulch? So we have to find all of that out before we say, no, we don't like the tree service, or it's a clean business. You know, they've got their trucks, they go out with their chainsaws, they come back and they park them. Now, it's different than somebody's definition of what is a tree service. So that's what I'm just trying to make it simple, is we have to look at all the components of what that business is going to be and how it's going to impact that area.
So what would your suggestion to be if I'm finding extreme difficulty having potential tenants wait 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months for a decision while they need to find space in it? So what would your suggestion be to rezone it and have it zoned commercial rather than a use variance? Do you have any recommendations? Because what I'm finding is extreme difficulty through this whole process.
Well, I mean, based on, I can't really give you what my opinion is.
Okay?
But if, I would say, if you want to look at zoning, that's an option. As we know what's happening up there now, is they're looking at rezoning. There's other segments in the city, due to certain factors or facts, that have been rezoned. So I guess this is where I'm trying to head towards when I said the city is looking at potentially doing something up there in terms of a industrial park or something like that. This might be the opportunity to talk about rezoning a certain segment or the whole portion. But I can't say, yeah, go ahead, rezoning, that's the best thing. I think it's a topic that can be discussed. The best thing would be to head to the planning board and talk with them regarding rezoning or what's happening.
I have had a preliminary discussion with Mr. Beauregard along those lines, so.
Yeah.
I mean, to that end though, if it, you know, zone commercial, motor vehicle general repairs still requires a special permit. So,
Right.
I mean, you're kind of in the same,
That's why I do think, and I can have a further discussion with Tim, I do think there might be some happy medium that we can reach, you know, currently, so that he can continue to develop his site without expanding so broadly the use variance, because it is a use variance, you're absolutely right. I think it'll give him a little bit of flexibility, because some of the discussions and the planning that's taking place, that's gonna be a long process. A possible rezoning could be a long process,
Yeah.
much longer than asking for a variance. So
Correct.
I do think it might be beneficial, maybe get some good feedback from the building commissioner now, as to what he thinks might be a compatible use.
well, if it was me, I'd go in with a list of items. Yeah.
We have prospective tenants that are interested in the location,
You know,
so.
that's what you go in with your list.
I did that.
You did it already?
I already had that conversation with Mr. Zupa, yes.
Okay. Well, I think, you know, did you go with your counsel?
No.
Okay. Might
The
be
reason
something.
he's here today is because the first two times I presented this case to the board have been very restrictive. So
Yep.
I advise counsel to say, here's my issues, here's my problems. Lead me into solving the solution, which is why he's here today.
Okay, and I'll just say, and I think you said it correctly, yeah, this is a use variance, very hard to get. If we did not have use variance power, you'd already have been denied, because we wouldn't have the power to do that.
Correct.
You know, and the only, within the city, the only one that could grant the use variance, you'd have to go to the city council and present it as a variance that way. And, in the past, the council has not been willing to take up any use variances at all over the years, so, not saying they wouldn't, but, so they did grant us the power, but we have to be very careful how we use it. And, you know, I could think of different things, you know, if you say, yes, do this, now you got a major construction company or tree company, and you've got a nice restaurant right next to it, somebody's not gonna be happy.
Correct.
So we have to weigh that and measure that. So I think your thoughts of, you know, would you consider going and talk further with Mr. Zupa? That's fine. And bring your list of clients and have your case ready and present it, and maybe you do have a conversation with planning at the same time. To see what's happening behind the scenes there of what's going on, because this board isn't always apprised of what's going on if there's rezoning or something right away.
Right. Okay,
So if you're open to that, I'm gonna ask the board to grant a continuance of this
To September meeting,
to the September meeting. You can update us at the September meeting,
so moved.
And the September meeting is the 26th,
26th.
all right?
Could we make it mandatory that Mr. Zupa's here?
No,
No. Generally, I think if you asked him, I mean, this is the first meeting he's missed since he's come on board. You could ask him.
Yeah, you told me he would be here.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw, I asked any city officials who like to speak. They give their opinion or they'll verify a fact, but they won't say, yeah, I would do it. You know, they'll just tell you, yes, here are the facts, boom, and then they let the board make the decision. But, all right, so I've got a motion on the floor. Are you gonna second it?
I'll second that.
Okay, now discussion.
So if it's a continuance, just so I'm clear, the applicant can kind of bring in another application with more specific businesses, or that he would be interested in trying to have us vote in favor of, or I'm trying to figure with the continuance, I'm trying to give him some, what he can do to help his case, rather than just keep what we have
He
here.
doesn't need to, in my opinion, does not need to do another application. He's already lost his client that he wanted.
Right.
I think what he should do is, if you're gonna converse with Mr. Zupa, come back, present information that's saying our discussions with Mr. Zupa, this is the results. But I do not plan, as a member of this board, to give carte blanche on business uses.
No, I'm not
I
saying
would
that.
say every time if he has an idea of what we'll look at, and he gets a client, then now that comes in under the use variance request. But I'm not opening the door to say, even though they have 10 items that Mr. Zupa says, yeah, that looks good, to say, yes, you've got okay for those 10.
Right.
Each one would have to be presented. And because, as I said, there's too many parameters you have to look at.
Right.
Hours, staff, personnel, traffic, debris, storage, snow, all of that has to be looked at and talked about each time.
And its
I think
location
there's
on
a-
the property.
I think there's a good enough, enough of a mix of tenants right now that are interested, so that with the further discussion with the building commissioner, we might be able to identify some compatible uses, specify the business use.
Closely related.
Exactly.
Uses.
Yes.
And then maybe get a variance based on those uses because they are compatible. And then we'd have more information about how many employees, how many trips, how much parking, traffic, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I mean, you've, as they say, it's not your first rodeo, Counselor.
Correct.
So you know what to come in with for the information of XYZ company, then you go into it. Employees, hours, storage, snow removal, trash. Here's the nature of the business. You could have that all packaged.
Right. Okay.
No. So, do I hear a motion to move on?
It was moved to
It was moved in second, and we were in the discussion
Any further
stage.
discussion?
No?
Okay. And all those in favor of granting a continuance to the September 26th meeting for Slocum Development LLC, say aye.
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 All those opposed? No opposition. You have your continuance to
Thank
next
you.
month. Okay. And anybody here that is interested in this application and everything, you can be here for the next meeting, but it's not worth going through the whole presentation because things could change next month dramatically from what you hear tonight. So let's try to narrow it down to what it should be.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. No, I pointed at you. Okay, the next case before the board. Case 2023-0802, variance. Douglas and Nicole Hutt, 191 Sand Street, extension of driveway.
Yes.
Your name and address, please?
Excuse me?
Name and address.
Douglas Hutt, 191 Sand Street.
Okay, so tell the board what you want to do. And I know this is your first time presenting, right? So what really, you gotta tell the board what you wanna do, we're gonna ask questions, the size of your driveway, et cetera. And there's 3 items that you have to address. And one is, what you wanna do is does it create or aggravate a safety hazard? Is it against the intent of the zoning ordinance? And is there a hardship because of shape, topography, soil conditions of the property? You have to address them. The last one I just said is the hardest one to address. And then you can go forward from there and deal with this. And we'll ask you some questions.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. It started off with a driveway that was made in 1951 with all the roots, and they never did it correct. Plows, a lot of different things, okay? Destroyed my driveway. I, at the time, had 4 out of 5 people living in my home that have handicaps. Okay? My son has a serious handicap. I do also. My mother-in-law was 89 years old. Well, she is 89 years old. Her husband was 88 years old. We had to take them in to care for them. Okay? My mother-in-law has tripped on that driveway, split her head wide open. It's been a disaster. So finally this year, we decided to have our driveway redone. Now, we had a 40-foot silver maple right next to it that the solar company had chopped down, but they left me about a 5-foot stump. That stump ended up weighing what they approximated to 6,000 pounds, okay? It ruined their truck when they took it away. I was not there, but they told us about it, okay? They couldn't get it in the dump truck. They had to go and get a flatbed. That's how big this was. So it created a huge area, okay, that we hadn't even decided yet that we wanted to extend this. After talking with the company, who's been in business in the Gardner area for probably 30 years, okay, they never told us about anything, okay? They were under an assumption, I guess I spoke with one of the workers there for the company today, and I guess they were under the assumption that that stump, where it took so much, what they did was they brought the tar to my walkway to go in the front, okay? Which was another, I believe it was 12 feet. I'm losing my train of thought. I had something I was gonna say, I just can't. This has been my son, okay, for the last, well, since he's had his license, and he picked up his driver's license between the age of 18 and 19, not like most people. He spent his entire 4 years of high school in the hospital every week. Okay, he'd go in for 3 days, get regulated, come home, go back in on Monday or Tuesday, you know, and this was for 4 years. He's never parked on my land yet. Okay, he owns an automobile, I do, and she does. Okay, it's just my immediate family. Thankfully, the last 5 neighbors next door over quite a few years have allowed us to let him park in their mud. Okay, he's fallen down. He has serious issues with his legs. I mean, everything's there medically, you know? So we decided to do this, and I guess it wasn't what we were supposed to do, you know? That's why we're looking for this variance, so we can at least park our 3 cars and give us enough room in between. My father-in-law passed away 2 weeks ago, okay? It just seemed so awesome to be able to have the ambulance pull right up to the door, or the hearse to pull right up to the door, okay? Other than that, we're out there moving cars left and right when you call an ambulance. You know, we've had quite a few ambulances over there, you know? Yeah, we're just looking for our room. I don't believe there's anybody that had an issue with that. None that I know anyways. Neighbors that have spoken to me, they got the letters, they said they got no problem. Okay? We just wanna know what we have to do to get this, taken care of.
Okay. First, our sympathies on the passing
Thank you.
of your father and your father-in-law. Those are tough times to go through.
It is, it can be.
I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at your pictures right here. I see 3 cars parked there. I'm gonna assume 2 are yours?
One's my
Well,
truck,
one for you, and one
and
for your
one's my
son.
son.
Okay. You've got it sort of chalked out here. What is the width of each one of these?
I believe that's 12 feet. I measured the,
If you wanna come up and sit down up front, you can do that.
I've got issues with my legs also. All right. I believe they're 12 feet.
Okay.
12.5, I think it,
Well, that's, you know what, they used a roller, I used a 16-foot tape measure,
okay.
okay? And I was the only one that knew where the marker was after it was surveyed quite a few years ago. I just had a new neighbor move in there, and I says, do you know where your land is? And he said, yeah, from this point to this point, and he was wrong. It's closer to my land, okay, but it runs on an angle, okay? So I went like this, and hey, there's the marker right there. But after they took the backhoe in, I can't find that. So, but I know where it is.
Okay. I've driven by it a couple of times. And the 3 cars, 3 vehicles were parked there. There is a parcel of land right here.
Yes.
Is that yours?
No.
All right. That's your
Some
ma-
of it is. That's the part on an angle that I was just bringing up to you.
So it's not a rectangular piece or a
Nope.
square piece? It's
Nope.
sort of a bisected piece.
How they did it in the old days.
Have you spoken to your neighbors about what you want to do?
Yes.
Any opposition?
None.
None?
None. I haven't spoken to all of them, but
Well, I mean, either, I'm looking at your house right here, I would say your neighbor to the right.
that neighbor said my son could park there. He doesn't even use that anymore. He
Yeah,
wasn't even
and
worried
to the
about
left is
Is the street.
Allen Street.
it. Allen Street, yes.
So there's really no neighbor there. So
No.
your only neighbor that probably would either be for or against is right
Mhm.
here.
Right.
Not planning to put up any garage or
No,
temporary structures over the cars.
nothing.
You're proposing just what is here.
That's it.
You know what the ordinance calls for. I'm sure Mr. Zupa told you, 25 feet wide, so you don't have 25 feet. If you wanted, you needed 75 feet. You don't have it.
No, that whole driveway is only 34,
Yeah.
I believe.
And we don't, and I'm sure you don't, want you tearing up your front lawn to turn this into the biggest driveway you've ever seen.
Exactly.
You know, we don't like black grass, if you want to call it that.
I don't blame you.
And you back out directly onto Sand Street.
Sand
Yes.
Street.
Yep.
Which is very dangerous sometimes.
Please?
It's very dangerous sometimes because
Uh,
once they hit by my house, they just fly.
Your best is almost back in every time so you can watch.
Picture that was
Yeah.
a garage at some point.
Was this a garage at one time?
No, it was always a carport. It's just like a
Carport.
all-weather, yeah.
So, same as a garage.
Well, we call it a carport, but it's always had a front since we've purchased it.
So it's been converted into a room or something at this point?
No, that's just what we use it
All
for,
the
you know?
And I know you have no land in the back, I mean, to the left, as I look at
No.
it. And you really have no access unless you come in off of Allen Street to go in behind your house.
There's no access
No access
there because it's about a 4-foot cement wall, about yay thick. Okay,
and I have a fence.
Okay.
We have a fence.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions right now for him or for them? Fran?
So is that the maximum amount of cars you're gonna have there is
Yeah,
three?
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Except for when people stop over.
Well,
Yeah.
And a lot of
Right,
times.
but you're,
What they would do, they'd be
park
parking
on
in
the
that
street.
dirt, they'd
We
be
don't-
parking on that
it's
dirt
hard to
thing,
park on
because
the
we've had a
street.
few cars that they come up over the hill so fast that my daughter's girlfriend got her rear end pushed up to her front end, and what was the other accident? Oh, my mother, day that she purchased a brand new car, backed out, and this lady come up 70 miles an hour through the skid marks and T-boned her, you know, it was,
So if they park on the front of my house and somebody comes down Allen Street, it's very hard to come out to see.
To see,
because the
yeah.
cars go so fast.
yeah.
well, I know I come down that way to go
Mhm.
over to Euclid Street,
Right?
and you best stop at the bottom of Allen Street.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but if there's cars in front of my house, it's hard for people to, they just gotta slowly creep out.
Tommy Knight got hit up there one day, okay? I mean, there's been a lot of accidents there.
So, all right. Randy? Dave, any questions at this point? I'll open it up to the audience.
um,
No.
the, one question I have is for, snow, do you put that on your neighbors?
Yes. Or my front lawn, okay? And what we blow into his area is that patch right there, okay? And, you know, with my son parking there all the time for 5 owners, that's a long time, you know? He's 43 years old now. I mean, that's where it goes. Right
So your neighbor has no problem of you storing your snow over there?
None. The last 5 neighbors haven't had any problem with it, you know? We have good neighbors.
Anything else?
No, that's my only question.
Okay. Are there any representatives of the city to speak regarding this application? Any representatives of the city to speak regarding this application? There are no representatives to speak. Any abutters to this property to speak in favor of this application? Any abutters to the property to speak in favor of this application? There's no one to speak in favor of. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone to speak in opposition to this application? No one to speak in opposition. Any interested parties who would like to speak in favor of this application? Any interested parties who would like to speak in favor of? There's no interested parties to speak in favor of. So I'll ask my members if you have any comments or questions at this point.
No, I do not.
I think what we're looking at here, I think Mr. Hutt has addressed, you know, number one is the shape, topography, et cetera. Has no really land available to do this, and to maintain safety and et cetera between the vehicles and the people. Has a very strong medical, you know, fact here. Does it derogate from the intent of the ordinance? Of course, because this is about 12 and a half feet, each one of these stalls. The ordinance calls for 25. What is the frontage of on your property?
I don't know. It should be on the plot plan. Right? I don't remember what that was.
I
It's a
can't
very
really,
old plot plan.
Yeah.
It's very old.
it looks like 96 if you, is that 96? Would that be 96 if this one is?
Here's the front right there.
I know that, but I couldn't read what
Yeah,
that number.
it's probably not quite, there's a curvature. So he's probably got 93 feet or something,
60.19 plus 20, 80 feet.
80 feet.
80?
Yeah, he's reading from the deed.
Wow, that's interesting.
So it's almost impossible to meet it, even if you said we'll do 25 feet,
Right.
you don't have any room.
Exactly.
Right. Are you gonna create or aggravate a safety hazard the board doesn't think so,
Mhm.
because you're pulling the cars off the street
Right.
and allowing for, proper use of the vehicles, and, I can't suggest how you park, but if it is dangerous, et cetera, backing in is probably the safer way if you can do it.
Without a doubt, yes.
And so that's what the board has to look at in terms of his presentation. Even the abutting property, which he does not own, he has the that owner permission to store snow there. If not, then he can store snow in the backyard or on his front lawn if he had to.
Front lawn.
I would like to move forward for a decision on this unless there's further discussion.
I've been by it several times.
Hmm?
I've been by it several times as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So do I hear a motion to vote on this to grant the variance for, as presented by the pictures, approximately, we'll call it between 12 and 13 feet for each stall, for 3 parking spaces, not to encroach on the front lawn, and
I wanted to put a condition on it,
what condition?
that there's no more expansion, because this goes with the property.
It says 35 feet, according to what they submitted, it's 35 feet total from that corner to that corner.
So that's roughly 12 feet.
It's not to be widened any further than the existing driveway. As
Yeah,
proposed.
not to exceed the existing driveways.
Or
That's,
as constructed.
As
Current-
constructed.
As recently constructed.
right.
Okay.
Because I could see someone,
Yeah, I know.
The next owner.
that's right. So I would like that to be a condition.
Okay. All right, so all those in favor
With the
Of-
condition.
of granting this variance request with the condition that the driveway will not exceed as it currently stands? We may change the wording a little bit.
That's fine.
So
So-
moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No opposition, variance granted.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Thank you. Nobody would extend that anyways, because then they're gonna be cutting in the sewer pipes. So,
You'd be surprised
Hopefully.
Yeah.
what we've come across.
I'm sure.
No,
All right. Well, we appreciate your
plan on
time.
doing anything
Thank you
more than
much.
this.
Well, thank you for coming in.
You will get a written decision. As the chairman mentioned earlier, you have to wait 20 days after you receive the decision.
Yep.
And then if you don't get any objection, it has to be recorded at the registry of deeds.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And you'll have to bring it to the registry to record it.
Mhm.
Yeah, the city will not record it for you.
All right.
I think it can be mailed. I think.
Can be
Yeah.
mailed?
I think so.
Okay, all right,
You can call the registry, they can tell you.
all
It's
right,
in Worcester.
I know,
Okay?
all
It
right.
used to be Fitchburg.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Okay, the next item.
Bye, buddy.
Have a good night. Okay, the next item before the board is correspondence that was received. It's dated August 1st, 2023, and it says file number 01.00138664.86. It's Mayor Michael J. Nicholson, Gardner City Hall, 95 Pleasant Street, Gardner, Mass. Sue Avalone, Chairperson, Board of Health, 95 Pleasant Street, Gardner, Mass. Raymond LaFawn, Chairperson, Zoning Board, 115 Pleasant Street, Gardner, Mass. Tom Zupa, Building Commissioner, Building Department, 115 Pleasant Street, Gardner, Mass. Regarding public notification of amendment of a notice of activity and use limitation, Fitchburg Gas and Electric, 35 Logan Street Site, Gardner, Mass. Mass DEP release tracking number 2-0046. Excuse me, to whom it may concern. On behalf of Unitel Corporation, GZA Geoenvironmental, Inc. is providing you a recorded copy of the Notice of Activity and Use Limitation, AUL, amendment for the above referenced site. This submittal is provided in accordance with sections 310 CMR 40.1090 and 310 CMR 40.1403, subsection 7, subsection A of the Mass Contingency Plan, MCP. The AUL amendment for the property listed above was recorded at the Registry of Deeds in Book 69365, page 132, on July 11th, 2023. A copy of the public notice to be filed in the Gardner News is also attached for your information. Please contact the undersigned at 781-278-3700 with any questions regarding this matter. Very truly yours, GZA Geoenvironmental, Inc., signed by Charles A. Lindbergh, LSP of Record, Senior Principal, and attachments copy of amendment to AUL, public notice, and an additional copy to Mass DEP Central Regional Office, Tom Murphy, Unitel. What's attached here is a document that's about 6 or 7 pages long. For the record, I'm not going to read it. It is in the Office of the Zoning. It's available for review. If anybody wants to read it, they have the right to come in. Our administrative assistant will provide a copy if they desire a copy. They cannot take the original off-site, but it can be taken, and it's where there's just a change in a site that has some kind of contamination, and the use of that activity and use limitation tells you what can be done there, what cannot be done there. So I'll ask, did the board have any questions regarding this?
No, sir.
Motion to place on file.
Okay, there's nothing further before the board, then we have no minutes. Nothing outstanding at this point, so can we move for
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
any discussion?
Let's go.
No discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, no opposition, meeting adjourned.